see what I started.
We have two fairly high when certain things come up.
Yeah.
Right now.
Look at the agenda. You didn't see a brand new truck out front? You didn't see that brand new truck out front? No, Joey, Ed's got a brand new truck out front now.
Sometimes I'll just say.
So we got that.
Good evening, everyone. It is 5:30, but we appear to be having some technical difficulties, so if you just give us a couple minutes, we'll get started.
Got it all switched back.
Oh, we're good.
Well,
We'll go ahead and get started. We'll call the meeting in order. We'll begin with the invocation by Chaplain Gary Smith. Gary, be so kind.
Tonight, and we thank you for the things that you've done in our lives, and we pray especially tonight that the actions that the council takes will be acceptable and a blessing to you for the people of the community. The North Platte City, the first responders, the fire department, the EMTs, and most especially closest to my heart, the police department. Watch over them all, keep them safe, guide them and direct them as they deal with all of the things that they have to deal with. And we thank you for your love, Lord, and we pray that tonight will be a gracious night. Pray this all in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here. All right, a current copy of the Open Meetings Act of Nebraska is posted at the wall back to council chambers. Hopefully everyone got a copy of the agenda, tonight's agenda. If you look over the meeting procedures, I truly appreciate it. We'll begin with a consent agenda. All matters under consent agenda are considered by the city council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any city council member may, however, remove an item from consent by request. Item number 1 is approved minutes of work sessions on October 14th and 23rd, regular meeting on October 15th, and a special meeting on October 23rd, 2019. Item number 2 is place on file ML&W reports for September 2019. Item number 3, place on file treasurer's report for September 2019. Item number 4, approved application by the United States Junior Chamber of Commerce, DBA North Platte JCs for a special designated license on December 7th, 2019 from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the D&N Event Center at 501 East Walker Road for a Soup Paws fundraiser. Item number 5, approved application by Aiden Enterprises LLC, DBA Sutherland Longhorn Bar for a special designated license on December 13th, 2019 from 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. and December 14th, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. at the DNN Event Center for the North Platte Visitors Bureau ACL Cornhole Tournament. Item number 6, approve application by Aiden Enterprises, LLC, DBA Sutherland Longhorn Bar for a special designated license on January 10th, 2020, from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. and January 11th, 2020, from 8:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. at the DNN Event Center, 501 East Walker Road, for the ACO Major Cornhole Tournament. And item number 7, accept bids from Sewer Extension District number 349 and reward contract of Midlands Contract Kearney in the amount of $369,838 and authorize mayor to sign that contract. Item number 8, accept bid and award contract for one 2021 50-foot aerial device mounted on a 33,000 GVWR cab and chassis for electric department to All Tech Industries, Inc. in the amount of $218,000 and $821. Item number 9, adopt recommendation by the North Platte Planning Commission for preliminary and final approval of Iron Trail First Subdivision.
Move that we approve items 1 through 9.
Second.
And those passes. Regular agenda, item number 10, have a public hearing and action regarding adopting ordinance number 4017 for amendment to sections 150.030 and 150.031, 150.032, 150.034, 150.035, 150.036, and 150.037 of the municipal code of the city of North Platte relating to adoption of the updated international building code. Remind you, it is a public hearing if anybody wishes to speak.
Motion to close public hearing.
Okay, that motion passes. Public hearing has been closed. Yes, please.
An ordinance of the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, amending sections 150.030, 150.031, 150.032, 150.034, 150.035, and 150.036 of the municipal code of the city relating to the adoption of the updated international building code, mechanical code, plumbing code, international existing building code, international residential code, and the international fuel gas code, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof in pamphlet form.
Jim, did you say 150.037 also?
Yes.
I move that we would adopt ordinance number 4017 for amendment to section 150.030, 150.031, 150.032, 150.034, 150.035, 150.036, and 150.037 of the municipal code of North Platte relating to the adoption of the updated international building code.
Mr. Reefer?
Mr. Mayor, I was wondering, do we have any idea with the amendments to the IBC, what these changes are going to cost for the construction, new construction in our town?
Dave, can you help us out with that question?
I can. I don't think the cost is going to be significant. As we went through this, and we do this with the home builders in the residential stuff, there's underfloor protection, a little drywall under stairs. There's carbon monoxide alarms. Now, if you have more than one, have to be interlocked, which if they use those with a combination detector, smoke detector, they're doing it already. They've got some stainless steel fasteners, staples if you're going into treated lumber. Treated lumber all has special fasteners anyway, whether it's screws or galvanized. Overall, as we process through the significant changes, I think they're minor. I think most of them are being done now. Okay.
Dave, is there anything that would expand the necessity of fire suppression systems, like say somebody would add on to a building or renovate an upper floor? Is there anything that provides any expansion from the current code on fire suppression?
As far as residential or commercial?
Either one.
Residential, that actually was put in the code in 2009, but it was removed in the legislature, and we followed that. That was an amendment we did in 12. We took out the fire suppression. In commercial, it depends a little bit on the use and how many square foot. Roughly, most of your uses, storage, those type of things, mercantile, you've got to get over about 12,000 square feet. So obviously, if they're going to take any kind of a structure and increase it and go over that number, then it would be required.
Does this change make that bigger or smaller? Does it affect any of those square footage numbers or guidance? Or okay?
No, those followed straight through.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave. That item passes. Motion passes. Item number 11, public hearing and action regarding an amendment to the North Platte, Nebraska Comprehensive Plan 2011 future land use map to amend certain lands from residential low density single family to residential medium density single duplex multifamily and commercial located at 101 Lakeview Boulevard, described as Lot 2, Block 1, Municipal Second Subdivision to the North Platte, Lane County, Nebraska. Proposed lots 1 through 6, Lakeview First Subdivision.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, my name is Brian Riley, and I'm from DP Management, part of the Dial Companies in Omaha, and address 1420 Crawford Road in Omaha. If it is acceptable to you, I'd like to show a presentation about what we're saying.
Yes,
if the technology works. So
yes.
hopefully it cooperates. While that's getting going, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and what we're doing. So I've been with the Dial Companies for about 19 years, and the Dial Company started in 1958. My boss has been there for 50 years. He just celebrated his 50th anniversary last year. We've done office, retail, and multifamily properties throughout the Midwest. A lot of new senior living housing in the last few years. And yeah, thank you. So today what we're here to discuss is an apartment complex, a multifamily project that we'd like to develop in North Platte. We've been talking with employers here. We feel like there's a market for multifamily, for new quality multifamily housing in this town. We've spoken with employers about nurses and other professionals who would like to have a newer property that is more reminiscent of what they're seeing when they're in college at Lincoln or wherever they get their degrees. And I think that's true for a lot of the professionals that are seeking to live in North Platte.
All right, so the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ.
I wasn't here to talk about the Dow, though.
No hot tips.
There we go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just to summarize, we are seeking zoning. We understand that there are concerns. There's a lot of people who showed up at planning and heard what their concerns are. And And actually, we're happy to address them. So if more concerns arise tonight, I'll be happy to address them and speak about them. It is our intent to build a quality project. We are building apartments. You know, our desire is to build apartments by apartments. There's already apartments in the area right there next to the land we're seeking. We brought our engineer and an attorney. My counterpart, Jack Clough, is with me as well from Dial. So with no further ado, let me show you this presentation. See if I can get this thing working. I think I'm just going to do it this way. All right, so that's a an overview of the site plan that we've got laid out. As you can see, we have the apartments located on the northwest side along Lakeview, with a little bit of commercial along the arterial of A Street. What we're hoping to do are market rate apartments. We're looking to do 160 units. Our ideal design would be an 8-plex low density for apartments, each with an exterior entrance. We intend to do a strong amenity package. We'd have a pool, a fitness facility, a clubhouse. Each unit would have a green space outside of it. That's one of the things that we like about this particular design. And their own exterior door, not a common interior hallway. So from our point of view, they're designed to retain value. I think that probably is important to the community. This is just an overview picture of what it looks like, you know, an architectural sketch. And then these are bird's eye views of what the design looks like, each layout. So you can kind of see what it would look like as you're looking from above. This is an architectural rendering of what it would look like furnished. And this is a video, if it'll play. It'll walk you through a unit. We didn't set it to music, but if you'd like to cue that phone. This is an island kitchen. We may end up with the design where it's up against that wall. It just depends on kind of how we decide on the layout. You can see there was a door there that allows for you to exit to the, each unit would have a patio or a deck, depending on which level it was on. The doors do not open, so you're going to magically go through this door. We know that one of the features that is important in a modern apartment is a good sized closet. So there you go. To your right, through those louvers, is a washer and dryer. Most people who are renting apartments nowadays are used to having a washer or dryer in their unit.
you.
You thought it was.
That's the built-in alarm system.
And we're coming to the close of the architectural rendering here.
Now, these are the 8-plex units you're showing us right here, okay.
Yeah, this is the 2-bedroom model. We'll have a combination of 1s and 2s. Like I said, closet space is very important. What we found, storage space.
Those queen size beds.
No, the master bedroom is a king. I think the other one was a queen. All right, so that's the 3D rendering. And then these are just overview pictures of essentially what you just saw. I think all of you are familiar with the location, but that just gives you a sense of it. So there haven't been many multifamily units added in North Platte in the last 30 years. You've got a growing community. We feel there's a market here. We'd like to be able to provide for a strong employment base of people who want to move in. We have met with at least a couple of these employers. Like I said, we're trying to build apartments near apartments. It is an arterial road, so we're not seeking to put it right in an existing, right in the middle of an existing neighborhood. And it is close to a couple of employers. Our target market that we're hoping to serve is for seniors, number one, who desire maintenance-free living but aren't ready to go into independent living or an assisted living. The rent numbers for those are substantially higher. And so this gives them an opportunity to live in something that will provide for their needs without having to pay a significant jump over their existing housing. One of the things we like about having seniors on property is that the community emphasis, they tend to stay in place. We also would like I said earlier, young professionals who are trying to come to this community and are used to living in what you see at UNL and other colleges is really nice quality housing. And so they're seeking something similar here. This would give them that. They want the amenities that they see in a metropolitan area. And so if the goal for your community would be to attract and retain people like that, we hope that we can assist in that by providing good housing. And then a little more about us. Like I said, we're an affiliate of the Dial Companies, founded in 1958. We are an affiliate of TCN Worldwide is our network. So we do have other affiliates around. We've been active in this town for quite a while, but Dial as a company is really our strength. Our emphasis is in tertiary markets. There are other companies who are maybe bigger in Omaha and Lincoln. We have property in some of the smaller towns, and so we feel like that's something that we do fairly well. We've been managing multifamily for a long time. Between our primary group, with my boss having 50 years, our CFO's 30 years, I'm 20 years, our asset managers at least 10, she's probably more than that. So we're north of 110 years. You add up all the other people in our office who are from Norfolk and other towns, we are representative of not just Omaha, but all of Nebraska. And we have a lot of years of experience. So we'd like to do this project in North Platte. We'd like your blessing on it, and I am happy to answer any additional questions that you have. So if you have some.
I guess I'll start right off the get-go. I was looking at your website.
Yeah.
And you have some numbers here about average income within 1 mile of $84,000 and 3 miles of $70,000. This is on your brochure on your website.
Okay.
What's your price range that you're looking at? And these are going to be 1, 2, and 3 bedroom?
No 3 bedrooms at this point.
Just 1 and 2 bedroom?
Correct.
And what's the price range that you're looking at?
Price range will probably be below 1,000 for the one, but it'll be at 1,000 or more for the two. It'll be a significant jump in rent compared to other comps.
And this is going to, you talk about seniors coming in here, but how about the young professionals? Is that marketing to that level?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna shut that mic off, sorry. That's a good question, and I understand why it would be asked. Let me put it in perspective. In Omaha, the per square foot rents are, in new product, can go as high as $1.60, $1.80. On a per square foot basis, we're hoping to stay below $1.20. The cost to develop a product in any town, Omaha or here, is probably going to be relatively the same. You're using the same architects, you're using the same, engineering, essentially the same engineering types, construction costs, the materials, that sort of thing. In fact, if anything, there might be more competition for those trades in a larger town. And so we know the cost is going to be a certain number. We're going to do our best to keep it down, keep the rent costs down to a level that can be afforded. Our perspective on your question about young professionals, if they're paying $1.60 per square foot in Omaha, we're hoping that they'll pay $1.20 or $1.25 or whatever it ends up being based on the cost in North Platte. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. Here's my point. My point is, and I had a long dialogue with two of my daughters who are 41 and 39 years old that live in the Omaha area. They both have mortgages, but that generation, and maybe Gary or somebody else could speak on this too, is the younger generation don't want to be stressed out with mortgages because both of my daughters are getting out of the mortgage business. They're too busy. Their lifestyle is too fast, too much going on where they can take time to take care of their lawns and do all that stuff. It's getting to the point where I think the younger generation, be it 35 to 45, whatever, is not looking for a brand in a house. They're looking for something like this where they can live their life, do their work, and not have to worry about a mortgage, don't have to worry about taking care of the lawn, don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. So if we are looking as a community to grow, and we're trying to attract younger generation kids here, be it tech jobs or whatever, this would be a perfect scenario. Correct?
That is exactly what one of the target markets that we do hope to be able to serve. We've seen it, in every. There are apartments that were built in Grand Island and Kearney that have been very successful, and they're retaining people who are millennials and younger Gen X, but most millennials. They want to have exactly that maintenance-free living.
Okay.
Brian, one quick question is, I know when you compare new apartment rents to older apartments, which we mostly have in this market, sometimes the utility costs get lost in that. And so I know if you take somebody who is renting, say, a 30-year-old apartment, and you add their utilities and you add a gym membership, and then you compare that to paying more in rent but less utilities and having a gym with cool amenity, do you have a feel for how much more efficient these new units are compared to, say, 30-year-old apartments in terms of average utilities for people?
I don't have a feel for I don't have a dollar number to attach to it. I can tell you they're substantially more efficient. For example, the latest project that we're working on is in Norfolk, and we had to pass certain guidelines regarding that. The intent is to build something that is going to be a lot more efficient, certainly. But I guess I don't have a number I can put on it.
But in general, you think it does make a material difference versus an older apartment when people are compared to their total cost of housing?
Yes, it absolutely does. And the fitness facility, the gym membership is a case in point. If you have access to that kind of equipment, number one, and convenient, You know, there are other side benefits. You know, we talk about it in our offices about, you know, things like community and the health benefit of, you know, being able to have easy access to be able to go work out. You know, those are untold dollars that are saved for not only the residents, but also, you know, for the community. But again, I don't have a number I can put on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Does anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Josh Howe. I live at 4015 West Redwood. My property, we back up directly to this property that's being built. Many of you have spoke to my wife, Rachel. She does a lot of the work with me when I'm at work and stuff like that. So I appreciate you guys taking her call as well. I would ask that you guys vote against rezoning the corner of A and Lakeview for commercial. I have three main concerns: health, safety, visibility, and the need. Safety, number one, as a father of two young children, one at home and one at school at Eisenhower. The health and safety of my children is the biggest priority. The only thing that is giving my reassurance with this project is that I know the members of the council feel the same way. The children in your families and the children of our community are our top priority. There are children who walk past the corner daily to and from school. The presence of a gas station on this corner would create an unsafe environment for those children. There are many other children who live and play in the neighborhood to consider as well. On a health, we have to consider the health implications of gasoline. Every time we open a window or go outside in our backyard, we'll be greeted with the smell of gasoline fumes. And every child who attends Eisenhower Elementary will be exposed to the same fumes during their recess playtime or other outdoor events. And there are people like me who get headaches from the smell of gasoline, which isn't a health concern to say, but it's quality of life. I also find it hard to believe that the residents that will live in the development or the mentioned daycare would have want to. And if the area is supposed to eventually have single-family homes and attract doctors and specialists, I don't think they'd want to live there as well. Here are a couple of excerpts from the articles discuss gasoline as related to health. People who live or work near gas stations may be exposed to toxic chemicals in air, soil, or drinking water. Children, elderly, and people of all ages who have lung conditions such as asthma are at a higher risk for harm. The article states how to reduce your risk. Children should not play near gas stations, and that's from the National Library of Medicine, October 2019. The most common exposure to gasoline occurs in breathing vapors when filling a car's fuel tank. Vapors can also be present in the air when gasoline out of contaminated soil or water. Gasoline vapors can build up in the basement, crawl space, and living area. That is from the Illinois Department of Public Health. If you're buying a home, consider the potential loss in value of the nearby underground storage tank were to leak. That's from Scientific America, April 2009. Perhaps one of the greatest risks of gasoline exposure is the harm it can do to your lungs when you inhale its fumes. Long-term exposure in the open can also damage your lungs. That's from the Health Link, October 2015. Consider how windy it is here in Nebraska. Consider our high water table, and applying those gas tanks to the ground over there in that area. Visibility. The proposed area for the gas station is literally in my backyard, like I said earlier. My neighbors and I will look at the structure with the lights, increased noise, noxious fumes, additionally traffic all throughout the day and night. Our neighborhood does not want a gas station, but it does not appear that the community at large wants one either. I have seen some of the community's negative comments regarding the addition of a gas station set to go in by McDonald's. After some research, I found the typical there is a gas station, one gas station per 1,000 residents, and we have something like 33 gas stations in this town. With a population of about 24,000, we're already in excess. I also consider the gas station that was attached to the barn store, which is already out of business. There are properties in this town that are available for businesses to go into: Strip Mall by Ace, downtown properties on Jeffers, in the mall, just to name a few. I appreciate and agree with the fact that North Platte needs commercial development. However, I don't think it's a secret this town values interstate traffic. So why don't we develop companies focused on that area of town? DP Management manages our mall, but they also manage Hilltop Mall in Kearney. I was recently in favor that Kearney's mall will have Kohl's along with the retailers taking over the Herberger's store. Why is the same development happening in our mall? Do we feel like DP management has proven themselves and is doing everything they can to get the retail that our town needs and wants? Jobs. We understand that in order for bigger corporations to move into North Platte to create a substantial number of jobs, we need housing. However, in my neighborhood alone, there's something like 50 plus homes being built on the corner of Dixie, Phillip, Bear, A, Lakeview, and Front. In addition to these homes that are already on the market, with the layoffs and all the homes being built and the homes currently on the market, aren't we already set up to welcome industry with the residential developments of this property? In the meantime, can we appeal to, for the example, Kohl's in the mall, which would employ something like 80 to 90 people, who may recently been laid off or compared to a handful of employees at a gas station convenience store employed. Company itself, can you speak on the vetting that's been done with this company? Have they developed properties like this in the past? What has been the results? The reviews I've seen regarding apartments they've managed have been mixed, mainly regarding lack of maintenance and upkeep. We appreciate that the company from Omaha wants to bring their money to North Platte, but we do think some additional consideration is needed regarding the makeup of a small town and what it needs. We don't need a gas station on every corner. We can choose to not put a gas station in our residential neighborhood. Therefore, we do not need to unnecessarily health at risk by adding one to this property. So I would ask you all to vote against rezoning this property to commercial. If you feel that a commercial development is still needed in our neighborhood, go on from there. But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Fiona, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm Fiona Lipsack. I live at 3320 Sunset Drive. I am in this neighborhood, in this vicinity of town. And so as a resident, I would like to speak out in support of the project. There's a couple things that I have that I think are important to bring to the table. One of them is that we raised 2 of our 4 children here, and they went to Eisenhower School as well. I would have loved this development back when I moved here 7 years ago because it offered a choice to us. We did not have that choice when we moved, and I would like future residents to have that choice of housing. So as a parent, I think it would be very important to families to have an option. I also have a junior in college who I would love to come back to our community, who is looking for this kind of house. She is the millennial that we're talking about, and this would offer her an opportunity to move back to our community. I know there was some issue about the gas station earlier. As a resident of this area, I would appreciate a gas station, so please don't speak for me. I would actually welcome that opportunity on our side of town. As a manager at Great Plains Health, we have another issue, and that is my employees who are trying to come here, move to our community and find housing. I spoke 2 years ago about this very issue, and it hasn't changed. We have people coming through our facility all of the time with the new jobs that we're bringing into town. Each of them, no matter what the pay grade, need a home. And so what we find often is they spend a long time looking for one. Some of them are looking very specifically for apartments, very specifically. And I don't care if they come from environmental services or there are physicians. Some of them really do seek this type of lifestyle. And I can speak firsthand to that, having firsthand experience of employers at or employees at the hospital. So I just wanted to mention those 2 things. Those are very important. We also have rentals in our community that aren't up to the standard that what some of our newer millennials are looking for. They absolutely are. We talked about health is an issue. We have apartments in our community that don't meet health standards. We have housing that doesn't meet health standards. I see that as a much bigger issue than bringing a gas station along with the housing that would be available in this project. So I just wanted to bring those points up from a resident's perspective and from a local employer perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilman. My name's John Cherry. I live at 4007 Redwood Drive, which also my back property is right on this proposed development. I find it unfortunate that the B1 and the R3 are tied together. I don't feel that the commercial development is a fit for our neighborhood, and if you defeat it, you defeat their proposal for housing, which I believe North Platte does need. So my recommendation would be to defeat the amendment, and if DP management is serious enough, they can come back and apply for a rezoning to R3, which I would prefer R1, but I'd be acceptable to R3. I don't believe North Platte has lost 3.7% of its population since the last census. I don't see it improving. North Platte's economy is basically stagnant at best and almost into a recession. The UP continues to lay off people. They really don't care how it affects North Platte or their employees. I don't see the situation improving. That's one of the reasons that I don't think it is really a really good fit for our community. I also would like to say that when you people on the responsibility of serving on the city council, you also took on responsibilities to listen to your citizens. Your citizens are not always going to agree. But I don't think that the residents of this area need to be told what's good for them. I think they're quite capable of deciding for themselves what's good for them. And I don't believe they consider the commercial development as something good for our neighborhood. Try to remember who elected you. It was not DP management. It was the citizens standing before you now asking for your consideration to defeat this proposed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Clary Nycoff, 8909 South Buffalo, North Platte. I think we get a little mixed up at this part of the process. We're talking about rezoning, and the developer slash actually just landowner could have went through this process years ago without DP management's involvement, and I think we need to consider that this property has actually been planned to be developed very similar to what DP's laid out. It just hasn't gone through the planning commission process and the city council process, but it has been on city plans. I've seen them. I've been in development. I've actually worked for DP management. I worked for them for 14 years, managing them all. Currently work for another local developer, and DP management's it. If you guys want a multi-family housing management company developer doing it in North Platte, DP should be the one doing it. They do it right. In regards to the criticism that you see online and social media, you're going to get that from tenants no matter if you're the best developer and multifamily management company in the world. You're going to get criticism because they're tenants, they're emotionally attached, and we get it at the retail level, we get it at the C-store level, we get it at residential level. I mean, you guys get it as city councilmen online as well. But back to rezoning, that's what we're talking about. And if you consider that R3, R1, B1, we have areas all over North Platte that are set up exactly like that. If you look at the mall area, which I believe is B1, maybe B2, I don't even know, there's apartment buildings right next to it. If you go to, I think it's Washington School, maybe even, is it Lincoln School? Commercial property all around it. And I guess I didn't look very close at Brian's layout of the property, but commercial property is not necessarily going to be a gas station. And maybe that's what's in the plans and I didn't catch that, but it doesn't have to be a gas station. It can be a doctor's office, a chiropractor, urgent care, a dentist, accountant. There's plenty of other things would fall under commercial property. Daycare. What a great place to have a daycare right next to a school and right next to where I live. Work on that, Brian. Anyway, I just have a lot of points. I appreciate everybody. I know when it's in my backyard, there's a lot of emotional attachment to it, but I think we just need to make sure we consider the zoning of this, what is decided tonight does not mean that DP has to be the one doing it. They just have to be the one right now carrying this torch to make this happen. Tomorrow, after you say, yes, let's do this, tomorrow DP could back out and we're zoned commercial and residential and multifamily. So it's not a DP thing tonight. It's what do we want for our community? That's the most valuable to have on that corner and how we're going to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Pearson, President, North Platte Chamber and Development Corporation, 502 South Dewey. Just wanted to go on record that the Chamber Development Corporation has been involved in trying to get this particular area of North Platte and this property developed for well over 5 years. And a lot of time and energy and effort has went into it. We've worked with a number of different developers trying to entice them to look at North Platte and to bring these types of developments. And a lot of them looked at it very seriously, and some walked away just because of the costs that are involved in the development. So you need a top-notch company that is experienced in doing these kind of things, has a great track record, and we found them. And DP Management, we're very fortunate that a company like this would want to invest in North Platte, along with some of the other developers that have recently announced. And a lot of effort goes into the background in bringing these things forward. Chamber Development Corporation wants to go on record in support of this project and this development. And throughout the 5 years that this has been worked on, where there's been master plan concepts discussed in public forums and so forth, always it included mixed use development, including neighborhood commercial, multifamily and single family development, and all validated through various studies and so forth that were also brought forward in the public process. I know you have tough jobs. I appreciate everything that you do, and this is a decision I think that is good for North Platte's future, and certainly, Jimmy, you're bringing up the millennial generation and the generation above it. That's what all the trends show, and they're backing that up with what they actually look for in housing when they go to communities. Everybody is competing for a very tough abundance of, or the lack of workforce throughout the Midwest, throughout the country, but especially in Nebraska, where we're competing with all our peer communities. That generation that's graduating from colleges or looking to come back to Nebraska from other venues, they have their choice of communities where they want to go. And they're going to look for where those communities have the quality of life, the type of living that they want, and they have far more choices in today's world than any other generations ever had. So we want to make North Platte as appealing and as attractive as we possibly can, and that a lot of that involves quality of life issues that you deal with on a daily basis and in every budget, and it's all very critical for making North Platte a community of the future.
Mr. Mayor, councilpeople, Wayne Busboom, 3911 West Redwood Drive. I've got a real easy question. I'd like a show of hands of everybody that would like to own a house across from a quick stop.
Mr. Busboom, this is your opportunity to address the board.
And
It's not their opportunity.
okay, trying to bring a point. I'm sure none of them would be interested in across there, and I don't know why we should be them. You know, I bought the house 2 years ago. I thought this was my forever house, quiet, retired people all around me, all nice. Across the street, all spring and fall, was geese and cranes and everything else. The housing, I have no problem with that. It's the commercial I have a problem with. And she said she didn't know where the gas station came from. It came from their website. It shows a quick stop on that corner. I don't think we need one. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Paul Kobeck, 4021 Redwood Drive. this project be directly north of me. I guess, I feel we have a nice neighborhood out there. We've got a nice sidewalk and trails. People ride their bikes, run, and take walks at night. I guess my issue is with the commercial part of it, with the buildings and stuff, because I think that takes away from our neighborhood. And, you know, there's a lot of kids from the north of us and new houses and the apartments there that walk to school, come down Lakeview, turn the corner and head down to Eisenhower. In my opinion, I don't understand why you'd want commercial buildings that close to a school to start with. You know, the housing I don't have a problem with, but it's the commercial part of it. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Nancy Paulhaber, 265 North Maloney Drive. Just wanted to visit a little bit about the number of houses that are currently on the market. That was something that several people have asked me to talk about. Currently, there's 146 houses on the market in North Platte, Nebraska. That includes all of those new houses that are not built yet, that the developers are doing on Park and over on Dixie and that sort of thing. The one thing I did want to talk about is that we currently have, out of that 146 houses that are on the market, when you get to under 200,000, there are almost 100 of those are under 200,000 now. So what I have been talking about for the last 5 years is the trickle-down effect. It's working. We now have houses in that under $200,000 price range because we started building some newer houses and people are moving up and those houses are starting to come on the market. So it is starting to work. That is one thing I wanted you all to understand, that it is starting to work. And just for an example, I've done 4 hospital tours in the last 30 days. Of those 4 people, all of them preferred in an apartment when they first come here. All 4 just because they wanted to get familiar with the community and that sort of thing and decide what it was, you know, that they wanted to buy and where they wanted to buy and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, they were all very disappointed when I drove them around to show them what the apartments consisted of, because they're all older. They don't have the amenities that they're used to. All 4 of those people are coming from cities. They want to get away from a city. They want to live in a smaller community, but they still want those amenities that those newer apartment complexes, like Dial is talking about, building. So if you want those people to come to North Platte and work in North Platte, we need to have that type of housing as well. Not only do we need single family houses, but we need the apartment housing that those people will be attracted to if we want them to move to North Platte. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to the City Council. I appreciate it. I represent 2 different kind of venues. One is I'm a resident of that neighborhood, and I would say too that our children transverse through that neighborhood, and if anything at all, it's Dixie that causes the issues of concern for me for traffic as our kids were growing up. It's a beautiful neighborhood, just like we've talked, but if you go down A Street, you realize that the city has planned expansion for that part of the city for a long period of time. So I'm sure that the money invested in infrastructure and some of the growth is well planned for that area of the city. In addition, when we first talked about houses and going up to the south of us, because that was very controversial at the time too, it's just a pleasure to drive down that street now and look at those 4 new beautiful homes that are done and sold, and the people that they're bringing into our community. I can tell you that North Platte has a great future ahead of it. Yes, UP has its up and downs, and we're all going to have our ups and downs, but we can't just focus on one institution to bring jobs into our community. We're the second largest employer in North Platte. We have 1,200 employees. And I want to say Dr. Mr. Backensoe, you're right. The new people that are coming out, health professionals, want this type of housing. We've had 4 people that have turned down jobs in our organization because they can't find adequate apartments. An average nurse makes about $65,000 a year. And it's difficult for them to find housing when they move in. And they're right, Nancy's right, they don't want to buy a home right away. And in fact, a lot of them don't want to buy a home at all. They want those amenities. They want maybe a swimming pool, an exercise place. And yes, I think we can make and keep our children safe by the way it's constructed and by the way it's designed. I would also argue that people of this generation want some of those amenities really close to them. My son lives in Omaha. He wants those amenities close. He doesn't want to have to travel across town. And when we talk about the effects of gasoline, maybe the impact of the health of our young people, the bigger problem we have in North Platte is the health of our aging housing. And it's creating issues with asthma. It's creating issues with the diabetic mortality. And these are housing issues that we have to deal with. We've got some really good things going on here in our community that we can be proud of. And we just need to keep that energy moving forward. So I'm really supportive of it as an employer and a father, and also as a resident that will be directly affected in that area. So thank you.
Mel, we need your address.
Pardon? Oh, 3402 West F Street. Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Anybody else wish to speak?
Yeah, Paul Kobeck, 4021 Redwood Drive. I think I forgot to mention, my other concern with commercial buildings out there is the proximity to the railroad and transient issues. You know where they like to hang out. And I just throw that out there as a safety concern because it's probably just a little over a mile from there. I know normally they probably make their way uptown. I think having like a convenience store or something out in that neighborhood, that's just gonna pull them into that, is my concern there. Thank you.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Public hearing's been closed.
Now move that we would adopt the amendment to the North Platte, Nebraska Comprehensive Plan 2011 future land use map to amend certain lands from residential low density single family residential medium density single duplex multifamily and commercial located at 101 Lakeview Boulevard and described as Lot 2 Block 1 Municipal Second Subdivision to North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Proposed lots 126 Lakeview First Subdivision.
Yes, sir. It's my understanding that if we vote to adopt this proposal here, that it does say commercial, but based on the zoning that we may approve, we can restrict the type of commercial that could be built in that area. Is that correct?
This that you're voting on right now is just the amendment to the land use plan. It has a commercial designation, or it has single family residential or multifamily residential. So this is just an amendment to that land use, which then enables you to rezone in the next item. And then at that point, yeah, this is commercial, so it encompasses all the commercial, B1, B2, B3, BT, that sort of thing. Is that your question?
Thank you.
I've had a lot of contact from people in my ward on this issue, so if it's all right with you guys, I just wanted to share a few of those comments and thoughts. It's interesting, I probably had somewhere around a dozen contacts before the meeting, before tonight, of residents that were on Redwood and also in the Janus Court area. Janus Court would be just straight west of this area. And it was really divided on their opinion. And so I did hear from a number of residents in the area who weren't against this happening, even if there was a convenience store or whatever else B1 would allow. And obviously we had folks speak tonight who were against it for the reasons they pointed out. A few observations I have as I think about this one. I thought a lot about it because of how many contacts I had since this came out. But, first of all, B1 is really designed as a layer between different types of zoning. And so I think if you step back and you look at this somewhat from a high level standpoint, you've got a major industrial area with the railroad, and then that's flowing into multifamily. And I think if I was the developer on this, what I would like about the commercial corner is that land is hard to put a residence on right at that corner. That's as attractive, and so it seems like a natural transition. I also think that this spot is further west of Eisenhower than what people realize and look at it closely. The biggest issue I have with this area is the safety issue we've had with the kids on Lakeview, and I really like the Pioneer Road concept and the traffic flow. It looks, I don't have an engineer's perspective, but the traffic flow to me seems like it could solve a lot of our issues that we have out there with Lakeview today. And I can certainly appreciate the concerns about fumes and lights, but I also see that as near the Union Pacific where that stuff's pretty prevalent. So as I continued to think about this and talk to people, I went and drove around Westfield. I thought about people I know in that area, and then I looked at 39th and 13th in Kearney. This would be right where the fairgrounds area is with the Casey's. Across the street next to Casey's, there's an insurance office. You've got brand new single family just to the north of that, and across the street you have a little bit still pretty new homes, but in a similar age to what Redwood is. And so I talked to a planning commissioner over in Kearney, and they didn't feel in retrospect that they'd had issues with interruption to the residential folks at that particular intersection, and I think that intersection is really comparable. And so as much as I respect all the negative comments about the commercial aspects from the people close to that, I think if we compare that to other areas where this similar type of activity has happened, that it hasn't been detrimental to those properties is my opinion on it.
Thank you. I'd just like to add one comment to that, which I is saying. We had that very situation right now in North Platte. If you go over on Poplar, one block or a block and a half off Poplar is what I call a grade school. There's houses all the way around that, and I've never heard of any kind of a detrimental expression over there. They don't seem to have a problem with it. And I think if DP does what they say they're going to do, it'll be a very respectable building, and it'll be an addition to the community. And as far as the gasoline, they're not burying gasoline in metal tanks anymore, to my knowledge. It's all plastic, which will last for, I don't know, a long, long time.
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Mayor. I received more calls on this issue than I have been on the council, and interestingly enough, none of these folks are in my ward. But after some quizzing of the folks that called me, the distinct impression that I got was they weren't so concerned about the commercial aspect of the development as they were about the convenience store. And so I asked Judy if there was another zoning classification that we could utilize in this situation. And she told me that we could go to a BT, Boy Tom, zone, which would be a business transition, business transition, which would allow then for the doctors and the engineers and the chiropractors and the various other commercial entities like that, but it would not allow for like a grocery store or a convenience store. And based on the folks that I spoke with, I don't think they're so concerned about the residential, and even the commercial wasn't the biggest concern. The biggest concern that I heard was the fact of having a convenience store there. When I ran for city council, I promised all of the folks that I was seeking their vote that I was going to try to represent them. I think that's important that I, as an elected representative, try to represent the people that voted for me. I didn't have anybody call me that supported this development. I'm not opposed to the development, by the way. I think it sounds like a good development. And I too have some tangential experience with Dial, and they've been positive. But I guess as we go down this path, I'm going to go ahead and support the change in the land use plan, I believe it's called. But when we get into the zoning portion of the meeting, I'm going to make a motion that we amend this to change the zoning to a BT classification instead of the current B1 that's been proposed. Thank you.
All right, I guess we're ready to vote. Motion passes. All right, item number 12. Public hearing and action to adopt ordinance number 4018 to rezone certain lands from PR-1 dwelling to the R3 dwelling district and a B1 neighborhood commercial district located at 101 Lakeview Boulevard and described as Lot 2, Block 1, Municipal Second Subdivision to North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Proposed lots 1 through 6, Lakeview First Subdivision.
Mr. Mayor. Brian Riley. I'd like to comment again on this project. In regard to the zoning, wanted to address Councilman Riker and that things. We are going to put a substantial amount of money into this project. It's going to be in 2 phases. Each phase will probably be around $10 million. The commercial side of it is going to be important to have some options open on that. In regard to the use, the zoning that you had suggested, I believe, would also exclude banks. So we would like to ask that it remain. In regard to a couple of the issues that were brought up by citizens, I do want to just mention, the gasoline component is a much lesser consideration nowadays than it was in the past. I could argue that going into Dewey or Jeffers and creating more traffic on that corridor is equally as bad for breathing in the environment as the fuel station that's closer. But I think the more important point is the convenience store aspect. People like to have, that's why they call it a convenience store, is they like to have it convenient. The markets that we're particularly targeting, the millennials, let me just address that, want to have things their way, you know, they want to be able to access things quickly. So I think that that's part of an amenity package that would be appealing to that resident. I don't, just based on my observation of convenience stores, I don't think that's exclusive to millennials. I think it appeals to a lot of people. My perception of that use is more about grabbing a cup of coffee on the way to work than it is about anything else. To address another point that was made, that isn't set in stone. It was something that we had in our mind because, yeah, that would be a good option if we could find a quality partner on that corner. That would be fantastic. But it doesn't mean that it has to be that way. We certainly are open to other options. If a daycare operator came along and said, we want that corner, we certainly would entertain that. We absolutely think that would be a fantastic use for this corner, as well as other things. And like I said, for this particular zoning, a bank is an option as well. And that side of town, if I recall correctly, does not have that service. So there are several reasons why I'd like to stay with the same zoning, and very much appreciate the commentary. If anybody has any questions.
Brian, I had a question real quick. I meant to ask it earlier. Excuse me, but you have this on your website now, and your brochure is out there for this area. Are you getting any bites, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, we do.
You're getting some interest on the whole aspect of the whole thing, not just the gas station, and are you having interest in the gas station?
We have had some interest from a couple of operators. That's natural because those are a commercial use that, you know, they're typically more active. Daycare providers and professionals, they tend to, you have to knock on their door in order to get that kind of traction. So we do have a couple people who've looked at it. There is nothing set in stone, and there's no plan set. We haven't worked directly with anybody to the point of having a plan in place.
But you do have interest in this area?
Correct. Yeah.
Showing.
We do. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. This is a public hearing. Does anybody else wish to speak?
Motion to close public hearing.
Public hearing's been closed. Yes, please.
An ordinance of the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, rezoning lands, excuse me, in Lot 2, Block 1, Municipal Second Subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. From PR1 Planned Dwelling District to B1 Neighborhood Commercial District. Rezoning lands in Lot 2, Block 1, Municipal Second Subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. From PR1 Planned Dwelling District to R3 Dwelling District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date of publication thereof.
Move that we adopt ordinance number 4018 to rezone certain lands from PR1 dwelling district to an R3 dwelling district and to a B1 neighborhood commercial district located at 101 Lakeview Boulevard and described as Lot 2, Block 1, Municipal Second Subdivision to North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Proposed lots 1 through 6, Lakeview First Subdivision on First Street.
Second.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, in deference to Brian, I need to ask some more questions, I guess. What other options are there available to us as the council? I think Brian said that the convenience store is certainly open for negotiation, is what I understood.
To be correct, I was actually asking that we leave that option open so that a convenience store, which probably would contain a gas they typically come with gas pumps. We would like to have that as well as banks and the other zonings that come with the designated zoning. We requested BT would exclude that, to my understanding.
And that was part of where I was going with the question. Do we have any other options available that would exclude specifically the convenience store in our zoning designation, and yet still allow the other structures that you would like to have built out here?
Not of a commercial nature. B1 is a neighborhood commercial district. That's basically the lowest on the tier as far as intensive use, other than a BT district. And a BT district is really constraining when it comes to commercial. BT is a business transitional, which is transitioning maybe residential structures into commercial type structures. But that's going to be the one that's going to be really constraining as far as what you can exclude. And I did look it up a little bit, and yeah, the professional offices are allowed in the BT, but banks are even excluded from professional offices because it says specifically what it's limited to. So it's kind of interesting, in a BT district, you can have a landscape architect office, but you can't have just an architect office. So it's really, really constraining to what you can do in a BT. B1 is the least intensive prior to getting to that BT district. Does that answer your question?
Just an opinion that I have, after getting several contacts on this, I went back through and looked at that BT zoning real carefully. And if you took Westfield today, which I think Westfield is a wonderful amenity to that part of town, and you overlaid B1 versus BT, there's a large percentage of the businesses, I didn't actually go through and check them all off, but it was like more than half, that you couldn't do in Westfield and in BT that you could do in B1. And so I tried to think of it from the perspective of there's so many things such as eating places or small grocery store, or we don't have to pick on the banks, but that's an example that's been pointed out a couple times today. But or the laundry or the dry cleaners, but there's a number of businesses that with that switch that are in Westfield today that wouldn't be amenities for that neighborhood.
I just have one question. If we vote for the B1, and let's say they do want to put a convenience store in at the gas station, does that issue come back to us again, or is that a done deal?
That will be an allowed use in that B1 zone.
But would that go to the planning commission and then to us, or that's just done? It didn't even come to us anymore.
Can we as a council put a restriction in our vote here tonight that would restrict a convenience store specifically?
No. Is that right, Judy?
To my knowledge, no. It's zoning is what zoning.
Not that I'm aware of either, no. It is what it is.
Thank you.
We're voting on the motion as presented, correct?
The motion passes. All right, item number 13, adopt a recommendation by the North Platte Planning Commission for preliminary and final approval of Lakeview First Subdivision.
We approved the North Platte Planning Commission preliminary and final approval of Lakeview First Subdivision.
Motion passes as well. Item number 14, consider request for an extension of CDBG 16-H0-33066 owner-occupied rehabilitation grant contract to extend the contract and end date to September 15, 2020, and authorize submission of the request for extension to the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, that's NDED.
Move that we would accept the request for an extension of CDBG 16-HO-33066 owner occupied rehabilitation grant contract to extend the contract end date to September 15, 2020, and authorize submission of the request for extension to the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, NEDED.
And that motion passes as well. Item number 15, authorize mayor to execute easements across city property to EADM LLC for access to the hotel being constructed by EADM LLC and for stormwater drainage of EADM LLC property.
I move that we authorize mayor to execute easement across city property to EADM LLC for access to a hotel being constructed by EADM LLC and for stormwater drainage of EADM LLC property.
And that motion passes. Item number 16, authorize mayor to execute service agreement between Nebraska Public Power District and the city of North Platte.
Move that we authorize mayor to execute service agreement between Nebraska Public Power District and the city of North Platte.
Yes, sir.
What does that agreement entail, Jim?
And what that is, NPD is asking all of their customers to enter into this agreement. If for some reason they would have to come in and work on, say, one of our substations, what it would do is limit their liability in case something would happen that was beyond their control. And again, they're asking everybody to update this agreement. We had it before, but again, they're doing a new agreement. And again, what it does is just say that if they come in and work on our system, that they're only responsible or liable for that and not anything else.
That motion passes. Item number 17, approve request for use of Elko parking lot west of Dewey Street extended for a poker run on May 8th of 2020.
That should be May 9th, Mr. Mayor.
May 9th?
May 9th.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's all right. We're gonna start at the Platte Bar. We're gonna go to Arnold, Gothenburg, Brady, and I'd like to end up at the Elko parking lot. We're gonna have a band, food vendors, no alcohol.
Can I get your name, sir?
Robin Loving,
Okay. And your address, sir?
3700 West Day.
No comment.
Just, could you answer me, are they talking about east of Lakeview Road and A? That big empty
East of
field is what you're
Lakeview and
talking
north of
about?
A.
Yes.
I just can't see a convenience store going in. I always thought Lakewood was, excuse me, North Platte's better foot forward as far as housing, and it's growing leaps and bounds on the other side.
You might want to wait until they vote on you.
I just can't see a convenience store going in there. I just don't think that's the right thing.
Well, thank you for your comment.
Anyway.
I appreciate you liking up this discussion. So, anyway, make sure that we know that it's changed to May 9th. Do we need to do anything with that, right?
No, the motion needs to be clear.
We could use the afternoon of the 8th to set up the area.
So,
That
My
Do we
mistake.
do 8th through 9th?
That would have been my mistake in creating.
Maybe they want to set up on the 8th.
can we do that 8th through the 9th? Is that
Yes,
all
that
right?
would be fine. We can use the afternoon of the 8th to set up and be ready that morning to go and come
Okay.
back.
I move that we approve the request for use of Alco parking lot west of Dewey Street extended for a poker run on May 8th through the 9th of 2020.
Now, to get power for the bandstand, do I have to go to the city here and,
Talk to me, I'll take care of that.
okay, and then some cones? Okay. Will do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is a poker run just like a like running?
No, it's a motorcycle.
Oh, it's a motorcycle run.
Motorcycle run.
Okay,
Yeah.
that answers my question.
Mostly just to spread goodwill and share. We're not doing it for cancer or anything like that. Having said that, any money left over, we'd be more than willing to make a contribution to somebody in need. Okay, that'd be cool.
Thank you.
I was thinking it's kind of a long run to Arnold, so.
Well, I'm talking about 80 miles. We got a lot of guys that are getting up there. So, try to make it easy.
That motion passed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item number 18, action on ordinance number 4019 to create street improvement district number 328. Dewey Street from 4th Street to 6th Street, 5th Street from Jeffers to Dewey Street, 6th Street from Jeffers Street to Chestnut Street in the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Yes, please.
An ordinance creating street improvement district number 328 in the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, and describing the various streets in said street improvement district and improvements to be constructed therein.
I move that we suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings on ordinance number 4019.
I'll second.
Can we ask you a few questions on the opportunities, right? So the district, how does that affect how the cost of this incurred? I've had a couple contacts from business property owners in that area, wondering if this district will then create some kind of assessment for their property.
No, it will not. Where it's already hard surface, and we've been going in there and basically just replacing that infrastructure. It would not create any kind of assessment that would go along with it.
When do you see the timing as being able to start this project?
Well, one of the reasons why we really were hoping that you would be able to, or that you would be willing to suspend the rules on this, is that we would like to get started with the engineering on this so that we could get it out early enough next year that we get a lot of interest from contractors or whatever. So in my opinion, it could start as early as next spring.
Are these gonna be consecutive, or are they gonna be separate construction projects?
We really haven't done that. It'll be led as one project, but I'm sure that we're gonna have to phase it out. And I've talked to Alan and some of the downtown merchants there about how we might be able to phase that thing out. But again, we'll have to kind of work that out with the contractor.
You know, the items that were presented in the plan and session, would this be, I'm imagining that from this and the city perspective at this point, it's kind of everything ground and below. Is that a good way to look at it, or what things above ground?
It is, and basically what we'll be looking at is curb line to curb line. What Alan and the persons that they had looked at were basically looking at the amenities that would go in behind the curbs.
Okay.
And so we'll be incorporating that into the project as well. But yeah, while we have that infrastructure out, we'll be replacing water, sewer, storm sewer, electrical, everything that we can while we're in there.
As I recall, Jim, wasn't there kind of an artistic feature in the intersection there?
Yes,
Is that
that's
gonna be
correct.
included in the
And-
project?
And Alan and I visited about that the other day too. And we're gonna have to get back with them as to what that would be as we approach final design on that.
I think that gets the downtown business district started.
Yes, it does.
That motion passes.
I now make the motion that we
That was the suspend.
suspend, yeah. I now make the motion that we adopt ordinance number 4019 to create street improvement district number 328, Dewey Street from 4th Street to 6th Street, 5th Street from Jeffers to Dewey Street, 6th Street from Jeffers Street to Chestnut Street in the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
And that motion passes as well. All right, item number 19, resolution for signing of the year-end certification of city street superintendent forms 2019, and authorize mayor to sign year-end certification of city street superintendent.
I move that we approve the resolution for signing of the year-end certification of City Street Superintendent Form 2019 and authorize mayor to sign year-end certification of City Street Superintendent.
Second.
Motion passes. And item number 20 is claims.
Second. Oh, I probably should vote, huh?
And that passes as well. And if I would certainly entertain an adjournment if anyone wishes to do so.
Second.
And would you all be so kind as to say yes? So,
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.